Hi, Jules Cruise Companion. Today I'm going to go over with you the unsanitized version of the embarkation process on getting onto Carnival Splendor in October of 2022. I have done a sanitized version of this, and if that is what you want to hear, the nice, sweet information, go for that one. If you want to hear the brutal, honest truth, this is the video for you. So we arrived on a rainy day, a rainy Wednesday, to Circular Quay for the embarkation of the October 2022 Carnival Splendor cruise. It was the second cruise for Carnival Splendor out of that port since the repositioning and arriving here in Australia. It was a diabolical show. It was horrendous. There is no cover for people, and the inclement weather, it was just crowded as anything. We discovered afterwards that people with a 12:30 embarkation time frame had arrived to drop off their bags at 10:30, knowing that they wouldn't be allowed to get on, that they could just drop their bags and go for a walk. They were ushered onto the boat. We arrived just after 12 for our 12:30, and we had to go away. And then by the time that we were allowed to get into the space, into the first hall, it was standing room only and 2 hours of our life that we're never going to get back. It was so poorly managed. I've been given a couple of reasons why the embarkation process was so disastrous. One of them was that the camera, the photo part of the whole electronic process went down for a large period of time. So that delayed a lot of the time. But that to me is hogwash. We have already uploaded several times different photos of us on all of the electronic information related to Carnival and this cruise. Princess, you've uploaded it already. That's the one that they use. End of story. I don't know what Carnival has been doing over the last 2 years, if they haven't improved their processes of being touchless embarkation. It was a nightmare. The other issue, because a lot of people have mobility problems and standing for hours and hours waiting for your turn to have your photo taken, and then they went through everything electronically anyway, but wanted hard copies of everything. Nowhere in any of the information did we register that we needed to have a hard copy of our boarding pass. It just added an additional stress, knowing that we had to go over and find some little man who typed our information in and on a little rolly piece of paper gave us a little slip which then acted as our boarding pass. It was, for 2022, for cruising that has been going now elsewhere in the world, why is this process so difficult for Carnival? A few times that I've been on Princess post-pandemic, it has been really silk smooth. Now, I made comment in the previous video that we did take along a couple of bottles of wine because that's what we had done in sophisticated other cruises and other parts of the world. No, but I was not the only person that had this issue. When at the end of the cruise, when you get your alcohol back, because you're given a piece of paper, with a confiscation piece of paper, that you go down and you have to provide the evidence that this is who you are and you get your product back. There was a floor full within the red carpet lounge of people with 2 bottles of wine. There were other things like the power boards that we know that you can't take, and a whole raft of other confiscated items. But there had to have been at least 50 to 60 pairs of bottles of wine sitting there waiting for their owners to come back and collect them. I know that I was not the only person that must have missed this within the Australian Carnival cruise agreement, that you do not take 2 bottles of wine on that you can drink in your own cabin or have pay corkage if you take it to a public space. I know I'm not the only one, because there was 50 or 60 other pairs of bottles of wine waiting to be collected. Once we, as I say in a previous video, once we arrived, we didn't actually get our sail and sign cards at the check-in process while they were taking our photos for security reasons. So they were sitting on the door as we arrived to our cabin. You know, something tells me that that doesn't necessarily seem to be the most reasonable, safest way to exchange what is going to be your sail and sign, your ticket to the world for the next 4 days, to have a little envelope with your sail and sign cards just sitting there. I am flummoxed at so much of the experience on Carnival Splendor that I'm just going to have to check myself. I'm not booked on any more Carnival Splendor cruises. I am booked on a Carnival Luminosa cruise in December, so I will, out of Brisbane, so I'll be able to compare both the Brisbane check-in process and the Sydney check-in process, but also what other changes Carnival has made in relation to boarding when it comes to the Luminosa in Brisbane. So with the horrendous bag drop and waiting to get in line, standing in line for over 2 hours, close to 2 hours, there was no seating, people were tired and exhausted, children were ratty as hell, and the cruise hadn't even started. So you're walking along all the stanchions, getting your steps up for the day before you even get onto the boat. Then the whole bunch together with the 2 attendants at each of the little booths, and the person directing you to them, and the parties of 2 or more people. It was a really crowded space. So we really were set on the wrong foot even before we embarked onto the boat. Even before we stepped foot on the boat, we were pretty tense, etc. And this was reflected with everybody that we had spoken to for most of the cruise. So I will do a separate video on the disembarkation, and it will be a sanitized version and a non-sanitized version. It's just something that Carnival does not seem to have got itself together in relation to. Whether it is staffing, whether it is cost cutting, I have no idea because I have no insider information. I just know that the embarkation process and the disembarkation process were not fun at all. This is Julie Jules Cruise Companion saying stay safe everybody and happy travels.